Good evening. I'd like to call to order the City Council meeting for February 23rd, 2026. If you are able, please rise and we will say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Will the clerk please call the roll of members?
Rachel Holteen.
Present.
Dan Larson.
Here.
Kathleen Martell.
Here.
Scott Ohm.
Here.
Mike Okada.
Here.
Patrick Quinn. Thank you.
Here, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, sir. Jenny Snell.
Present.
Susan Wood. Here. Thank you. Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Councilors, in your packet, we had study session notes from February 2nd, 2026, City Council meeting minutes from February 9th, 2026, and special study session notes from February 9th, 2026. Do we have any changes to those? Seeing none, we'll thank the clerk for her work on that, and we will keep moving here. We have no proclamations or ceremonies tonight. Looks like we do have some public's right to speak. So, we will go into our public's right to speak. Our residents will have 3 minutes to come and share anything that you would like not on the agenda tonight. So for our first public comments just on what's not on the agenda tonight, you will have 3 minutes. On the clerk's desk over there, there are 3 lights. There's a green light. As long as the green light's on, you've got plenty of time to speak. When the yellow light comes on, you've got about 30 seconds to start wrapping it up. And when the red light comes on, we ask that you please wrap up your comments. When you come up, please state your name, spell your last name for the record, and let us know if you live or work in Wheat Ridge. All right. We will also take comments during this time for our special study session tonight, which is about sidewalk gaps. So I will call up the first person, and I apologize if I mess up your names, but I'll do my best on that. And then I will call up somebody on deck as well. So first up, we have Julie Clark, and on deck we have Idella Lewis.
Good evening. Julie Clark. I have lived in Wheat Ridge for nearly 40 years. Last name C-L-A-R-K. I live in the 3900 block of Holland. It is exactly 1 block long. I have lived there for 18 years. 13 months ago, I put in a request to ask why our street has never been paid in the 18 years I have lived there. Now, I haven't gotten any response back. 13 months. So I actually don't think this is intentional, because every street east of us, west of us, north of us, and south of us has been paved, except for our 1 little block. And I was going to do a little tennis ball test to see how many tennis balls I could fit in all of the holes in our street. But I work full time. I didn't have time to do that. So if sending an inquiry to the place on Wheat Ridge's site to ask about this gets me no answer in 13 months, what am I supposed to do next? Kind of rhetorical, not really rhetorical. That's item number 1. Item number 2. My mom was born in 1925, and she just passed away last fall at the age of 100, 3 months and 8 days. She was nearly 20 years old when news and images of the Nazi concentration camp started coming out. And I remember asking her, Mom, how come the U.S. didn't know? And she said, we didn't know, right? I mean, they didn't have the information like we have today. We cannot claim today that we don't know that concentration camps are being built in communities across our country. So I am here today to ask that the city of Wheat Ridge do what you can to prevent any detention centers within our city. Okay? Just leaving aside the human suffering and the human trafficking of all of this, the fact that companies are profiting from this is just heinous. absolutely heinous. And it isn't something we need in our community. I mean, my gosh, we need permits for fences and driveways and pergolas. Surely we can do something to prevent this in our city. That's what I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Idella Lewis is up, and then we'll go to our special study session agenda speakers, and Tamara Phelan will be on deck.
My name is Idella Lewis, Idella Lewis, and I'm here representing the Wheat Ridge Historical Society. And we have a lot of things that we have for people to visit over there. And on 44th Avenue, across from Prospect Park, there is the Baugh House, and inside the house, well, there was a cabin that was built originally by James Baugh. He was an early settler here, trying to find gold, but he had to be a farmer because he didn't find any gold. And he built a cabin there and farmed the area. And then somebody came along and built a house enclosing the cabin, and it's available for tours. We have events there the second Saturday usually, and Corey, I know, has been there, and maybe some of you others have been there too. But anyway, then 2 blocks north, there is the historical park, and in the historical park, there is an old original post office that was moved there from 38th Avenue, and it's going to be a research library now. They're working real hard to get things together for that. And there is a red brick house, and then next to that is a sod house, original sod house, and I think it's the only one in the state. I'm not sure on that, but it's original. Then there's an implement shed. It has a lot of old implements and things that are very interesting. And there's also an original log cabin. And it was moved from Wadsworth, I believe, Johnson Park over there. It was hard to move it, but anyway, it was moved over there. So anyway, we have events we have events at the Baugh House the second Saturday, and we also have events at the historical park. And many people in Wheat Ridge don't even know that the park is there. They said, oh, they didn't ever see that, and there are signs pointing to it, but people just don't realize. And so we would like to invite everyone on council and everyone in the audience also to come and visit us. Tours are open on Fridays at the historical park from 10 to 3, or by appointment you can come too. And there was a video that the city made, and it had about the parks and the rec center and the active adult center and all this stuff, but they left us out. And we're here, and we've been here celebrating 50 years of the Historical Society. So come and visit. Thank you.
Thank you. Tamara Phelan is up, and Kelly Blinn on deck.
Hi, my name is Tamara Phelan. Before I speak, my neighbor is here, Candace Tomlinson, and she wanted to speak on the study session topic as well. Is that something that she can do?
Once we collect the sheets, we don't allow any
Okay,
more
I think she
comments.
was surprised because normally the sheet's there longer. So, do you want to give me your speech? Okay. My name is Tamara Phelan. I live at 4205 Dover Street. I'm here to speak on the topic for this study session. Basically, what I wanted to say is I did a quick run up and down the street today. I found out about the topic tonight, the street improvements on Dover, simply through a neighborhood text, my neighbor, Candace Tomlinson. And I'm just surprised that I'm here to make a comment about it, but I also want to make a comment about the fact that people on my street that I spoke to today were very surprised about the fact. We have been having to hear about this, the street improvements, sort of through the grapevine. I was able to pull up the information today. So that's just basically my comment, is that it's very frustrating to hear about it through the grapevine and not know what's going on. And I'm here for the study session so I can learn about it. I do want to mention that in the past, in 2007, the neighbors on that street voted against sidewalks, curbs, and gutters. I understand that there is a lot of improvement that needs to be done on the street. Our street is not in good shape because of all the excess traffic that happened during the Wadsworth improvement. Many people from 38th to 41st have experienced stormwater issues. I'm not on that part of the street. I live at 4205, so I'm sort of on the flat part of Dover before it dives down again to 44th. But I guess the question is, who wants this? It's been kind of clear to me today from talking to the neighbors that they are very much interested in the improvement of the street, but not necessarily sidewalk, curb, and gutter. The people have already improved their driveways. Many of them have put in their own culverts, as well as concrete pans, so that the water can flow. So my main issue is the lack of communication and transparency. I'm hoping to find out more information during the study session so that we know what's going on. But for us, the people that I talked to today, widening the street, we feel will invite even more traffic than we have now. Dover used to be a through street, an emergency route to go to the hospital. It's not there anymore, but now we're going to have a lot more homes up there, and we feel that widening the street is going to invite more traffic and more issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Kelly Blinn is up, and Krista Hollub is next.
Thank you. My name's Kelly Blinn, and I'm a member of the ADATS. I live here in Wheat Ridge on Brentwood Street and get around the city a variety of different ways, walking, biking, driving, etc. I'm here primarily to talk about the 2J study session topic, but did just want to note my support for the resolution before you tonight and want to thank the council for being proactive and keeping our neighbors safe. We're excited to see the projects in the packet tonight move forward this year and in 2027. The ADATs have been very supportive of the 2J initiative, helping to support the campaign, and appreciate that several are designed to help improve safe routes to school, which have been a priority of ours, as well as many parents at Stevens and other schools in the city. We especially appreciate the Hawk signal proposals on 44th. We've been noting that the rapid flashing beacons around the city are inconsistently complied with, which creates a really dangerous situation in a lot of cases. We also do appreciate the focus on operational efficiency in the case of Dover Street. The ADATs have for some time been prioritizing, assessing where planned repaving projects can be paired with bike and pedestrian safety improvements. At the same time, we want to be sure that we're retaining sufficient 2J funds for a data-driven approach, i.e. corridors and intersections identified in the current County Vision Zero planning process where the most crashes have occurred, and for some of the top priority gaps that have been identified in past planning processes, like a sidewalk to the high school on 32nd, sidewalks on 29th, connecting Hayward and Stites Park, as well as some of the other big priority projects like 38th West, as well as the refresh project. From the last time that council was updated on the projects in May 2025, there does seem to be a whittling down of the projects, and it would be helpful to hear from council and staff of how the 15 were identified and if any others are still proceeding. There were some important ones in the May 2025 packet that we didn't see in the more recent one, like 35th Avenue East and some of the new signals on 44th Ave West. Let's see. We also want to urge staff and council to consider limiting funds spent on fixing sidewalks on low-speed neighborhood streets where the existing sidewalks are extremely narrow and don't meet modern ADA requirements. These funds are not really helping us meaningfully improve safety and walkability. I think I'm out of time, so thank you for the opportunity to comment. I appreciate it.
Krista Hollub, and then we will have Jan Stevenson online.
Hello, my name is Krista Hollub, H-O-L-U-B. I'm a resident of Wheat Ridge, and I'm here tonight to voice support for the sidewalk improvement projects. They're so important for making our community safe and desirable. I am a recently new resident of Wheat Ridge, and I must say that as I look for a home purchase, my consideration included which neighborhoods have sidewalks. So I have two asks for the council tonight. One is for transparency in the prioritization of the projects and how the recommendations impact other key pedestrian and bike priorities outlined, both in the Vision Zero and other planning processes. My second ask for you is that you deeply consider user design in how these projects move forward with consultation with all users. My concern is that in other parts of the city, the pedestrian safety improvements have actually caused bike safety issues, specifically on 29th Street, near where I live, between Ames and Depew Street. The addition of the delineator posts actually block the path for cyclists and forcing the cyclists actually into the lane of moving cars. So I think that's a big concern and something that we want to prevent in future. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to Jan Stevenson online.
Let me see. Hi there, Jan Stevenson, Stevenson. I'm with Bike Jeffco, and I live in unincorporated Jeffco, but my connection to Wheat Ridge is that I worked with Wheat Ridge and the ATATs on a 2024 Safe Routes to Parks grant project around Fruitdale Park. And we are delighted to see Miller Street segment on the list. It's really kind of exciting when you've worked on a project and made some notations that the sidewalk really needed to be there, and then to see it pop up on the list. So thank you for that. What we did find in looking at the areas that were under our consideration, and all of those were pulled from the Bike Ped Master Plan, was that you really had to walk the walk in the areas that don't have the sidewalks to truly appreciate what the need is in that area. I mean, it's one thing to have a list. It's a total different thing to get out there and say, oh, wow, you know, the slope of this particular roadway is just not going to work for pedestrians. So I would really advocate for people getting out and checking this out themselves. One item that Kelly Blinn mentioned that's not on the 2026 list is 32nd near the high school. This area now has 3 feet to pass signs, speed enforcement, but no sidewalks. I think the neighborhood and the students would benefit from a sidewalk in this. This was of such interest to us that it almost vaulted to our #1 project, but we didn't have the funds that would complete it at that time. And my final thing is an ask that the notation that running stop signs causes like 40% of the crashes. And I would like that certain areas have considered automated enforcement of the stop sign running, because that is kind of a key thing to try to get behavior to change. But thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate it, and look forward to seeing what's going to happen with the rest of the list. Thank you.
Thank you. We have no other public commenters right now. I will go to Councilor Hulteen.
Thank you. I'd like to take a point of order and request that we allow public comment at the beginning of the special study session for people who might have arrived tonight thinking that that would be their opportunity. So without any objection from my council members, I'd like to suggest that we allow that. Thank you. And if somebody could please let Candace know, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. Dahl or Mr. Goff, do you want to take that sheet back and put it back out there for them to be able to sign back in? Okay, we will move to agenda item #1, our consent agenda. Councilor Okada, will you please introduce this?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to introduce the consent agenda, item 1A, resolution number 10-2026, a resolution amending the 2026 fiscal year open space fund budget to reflect the approval of a supplemental budget appropriation in the amount of $213,470 for the purpose of accepting grant funds from the Urban Sustainability Directors Network. At issue in 2024, the city was awarded $669,073 in the federal USDA urban and community forestry funding as a pass-through partner for the Urban Sustainability Directors Network, USDN. On April 4th, 2025, the city was notified that the USDA had terminated the grant agreement with USDN, which paused the city's grant and all related spending. In September 2025, USDN informed the city that a federal judge had issued an injunction blocking the USDA's termination, allowing the city to resume eligible grant activities on a reimbursement basis rather than through advance payments. The proposed supplemental appropriation would increase the forestry budget within the 2026 Open Space Fund to support planned USDN grant activities in 2026. Item 1B. Resolution number 11-2026, a resolution amending the fiscal year 2026 budget to reflect the approval of a supplemental budget appropriation for the reappropriation and reencumbrance of 2025 fiscal year encumbered funds in the amount of $10,360,392. At issue, there are 59 open purchase orders from the 2025 budget that will be carried over to the 2026 budget. Each purchase order is associated with a specific project that was not fully completed in the 2025 fiscal year. The funds which were encumbered for these purchase orders were transferred to the unreserved fund balance of the relevant fund when the purchase orders were closed. To continue to close out these projects in 2026, a supplemental budget appropriation in the amount of $10,360,392 is necessary to allow transfer of these funds into specific budget line items in the 2026 budget. Item number 1C, resolution number 12-2026, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an intergovernmental agreement with the city of Arvada outlining management of Clear Creek Trail segment near Otis Street. At issue, the city of Wheat Ridge manages approximately 7 miles of regional paved Clear Creek Trail. From approximately the I-70 westbound bridge over Clear Creek to Wadsworth Boulevard, the Clear Creek Trail is mostly within Arvada's jurisdiction, but is only accessible to users from Wheat Ridge. Historically, Wheat Ridge has managed and maintained the trail segment along with the Otis Street to Connection Trail. This proposed intergovernmental agreement formalizes the division of responsibilities for Wheat Ridge and Arvada in this area. To participate in this IGA, City Council must authorize the mayor to sign the IGA. And consent agenda item 1D, resolution number 13-2026, a resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement between the city of Wheat Ridge and the Colorado Department of Transportation for the Tabor Street Multimodal Project Improvement Project. At issue, in 2025, the city was awarded funding through the Colorado Department of Transportation to construct improvements for Tabor Street from I-70 to Clear Creek Trail. The funding includes both federal and state funding. The Colorado Department of Transportation administers the funding, so an intergovernmental agreement is needs to be executed that outlines the various parties' responsibilities and summarizes the funding sources and details the requirements of the funding sources.
Thank you. This is our consent agenda. Councilor Okada, may I ask for a motion?
I move that we approve the consent agenda items 1A through 1D.
And I have a second from Councilor Ohm. Will the clerk please poll the council?
Eight ayes, no nays, motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 2. Councilor Quinn, will you please introduce this item?
Absolutely, Mr. Mayor. I'm proud to bring forth Council Bill number 03-2026, an ordinance repealing Article 4 of Chapter 11 of the Wheat Ridge Code of Laws concerning amusement arcades and amusement centers. At issue, the ordinance repeals the licensing procedure for amusement arcades. It has become apparent that this section of the Code of Laws is outdated and no longer necessary for the protection of public health, safety, and welfare of the residents of Wheat Ridge.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. It's on second reading. It's not quasi-judicial. I will open the public hearing. And Mr. Goff, do we have a staff presentation?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, Attorney Jerry Dahl will give a presentation.
Thank you. Briefly, you'll notice from the council action form that under prior action and a background, this code section dates from 1977. And in that era, there was more concern with amusement arcades serving as opportunities for illegal gambling. That interest has really continued to diminish over the years and is not a current concern for the city at all. You'll notice that there are some forms of amusement devices that are in the city still, but the revenue, for example, from this licensing program is about $3,400 a year, so it's really de minimis. And the real key here is there was a public safety concern in the 70s around this, and thusly a requirement for a licensing process. But that public safety concern no longer exists. It's really just more of a regulatory hassle for a grocery store, for example, that has one machine in it that has to go out and apply for a license. The city staff supports a repeal of this section as no longer necessary.
Thank you, Mr. Dahl. We have nobody signed up to speak from the public on this, so I'll go to questions from council. Councilor Larson.
Thank you, Mayor. I just one very, very quick question. Arcade games back when you referred to when this ordinance was first installed would be what we think of as like a Pac-Man game or something like that, or something that could be, I guess, interpreted as a way to gamble. And this ordinance was intended to regulate that. We're looking to, by voting tonight, we're looking to remove that ordinance from the city code. And in the staff memo, at the bottom, it says, at this time, the state gambling laws, liquor laws, and local laws provide the necessary tools to handle any potential unlawful acts. On the record, do you believe that state gambling laws, liquor laws, and local laws provide the necessary tools?
I do, particularly liquor laws. We have good control over liquor license establishments, and that would be the only remaining arena where a device like this would raise that kind of concern. And we have a very robust liquor licensing and enforcement program. And I appreciate the question, and you're right, that's the only place it would be a concern, and we have better tools in liquor licensing. So, yep.
Thank you. Any other questions from council? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and ask for a motion. Councilor Quinn.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I move to approve Council Bill 03-2026 and ordinance repealing Article 4 of the Article 4 of Chapter 11 of the Wheat Ridge Code of Laws concerning amusement arcades and amusement centers, and it takes effect 15 days after final publication as required by the charter.
Second.
I have a second by Councilor Okada. Do we have discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please poll the council?
8 ayes, no nays, motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 3, Councilor Martell, will you please introduce this item?
Thank you, Mayor. Council Bill number 04-2026 at issue. This ordinance requires, Council Bill number 04-2026, an ordinance amending Chapter 7 of the Wheat Ridge Code of Laws concerning write-in candidate affidavits. At issue, this ordinance requires that write-in candidates for any elective office must file an affidavit of intent with the city clerk prior to 64 days before the election.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. It's on second reading. It's not quasi-judicial. I will open the public hearing. And Mr. Goff, do we have a staff presentation?
Yes, Mr. Dahl again.
Thank you. The council action form is really very short. You've seen this, I think, both in study session and, of course, at first reading. Many cities use the authority granted in the municipal election code, Colorado's municipal election code, to provide that if there's going to be write-in candidates, they should have to come forward with an affidavit saying that they're intending to run and that they're qualified 64 days out. And what that allows then is for the election officials, in this case our city clerk and others that work under the city clerk, to prepare the appropriate election materials and to know whether they're going to need to count those votes for a write-in candidate. That doesn't prevent someone from taking their paper ballot and writing a name on it. You don't tell people they can or can't do that. But unless an affidavit of intent has been filed within the appropriate time, the election officials don't have to count those votes. And it really streamlines their work. It doesn't preclude people from deciding to be a write-in candidate. It really just means that a very short 2 months before the election, you should indicate by affidavit that you intend to do that. And this mirrors almost identically language that many cities use to govern this arena. Happy to answer questions.
Thank you. We have nobody signed up from the public to speak tonight. Do we have any questions from council? Councilor Larson.
Thank you, Mayor. And just so we can be absolutely clear on this, Mr. Dahl, in your opinion, does this in any way prevent or discourage any person from running for office as a write-in?
No, not at all.
Short and to the point. Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and ask Councilor Martell for a motion.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve Council Bill number 04-2026, an ordinance amending Chapter 7 of the Wheat Ridge Code of Laws concerning write-in candidate affidavits, and that it take effect 15 days after final publication, as provided by Section 5.11 of the Charter.
I have a second by Councilor Snell. Do we have any comments on the motion? No. Seeing none, clerk, please poll the council.
8 ayes, no nays, motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 4, Councilor Snell, will you please introduce this?
I will. Thank you, Mayor. This is a motion to approve appointments to boards, commissions, and committees. At issue as of March 2nd, 2026, the terms of 26 board, commission, and committee members of the City of Wheat Ridge will expire. Additionally, there are 3 existing vacancies to fill. These 29 positions in total are to be filled or reappointed.
Thank you. This is a motion by the council. It is not a public hearing. Mr. Goff, do we have a staff presentation on this?
Just real briefly, this is just our annual appointment and reappointment process for board and commission members. There was a recruitment period, and names were provided to all the council members. I believe most of you interviewed candidates, and you've provided your recommendations, which are in the motions. This year, we are also, the mayor is appointing 2 council members as liaisons to the Cultural Commission and the Parks and Rec Commission.
Thank you. And we're going to add one, Mr. Goff, because I think we missed one on the sheet. Councilor Martell for the Sustainability Committee as well, but I'll.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
That's okay. Yep. Okay. All right. So I will go ahead and do my part here. I request the appointment of Aspen Jacoby to the alternate board of adjustment, term to expire March 2nd, 2029. And I request the reappointment of Tara Greer to the IDEA Committee, term to expire March 2nd, 2029. And I request the appointment of Jenny Snell to the council liaison position on the IDEA Committee, term to expire March 2nd, 2029. And I request the appointment of Jenny Snell to the newly formed council liaison position on the Cultural Commission, term to expire March 2nd, 2029. And I request the appointment of Patrick Quinn to the newly formed council liaison position on Parks and Rec Commission, term to expire March 2nd, 2029. I also request the appointment of Councilor Martell to the newly formed liaison position for this, oh, actually, it's not the newly formed, sorry, to replace Councilor Holteen on the Sustainability Commission, term to expire March 2nd, 2029.
I move to ratify the mayor's recommendations as presented by the mayor.
We have a motion by Councilor Holteen and a second by Councilor Ohm. Do we have any discussion on the motion? Will the clerk please poll the council?
8 ayes, no nays, motion carries.
Thank you. We'll go to District 1. Councilor Snell, will you please introduce the motion?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to reappoint Al Gallo to the District 1 Building Code Advisory Board, term to expire March 2nd, 2029. And I move to appoint Taylor Dupree to the District 1 Cultural Commission, term to expire March 2nd, 2027. And I move to appoint Wesley Hughes to the District 1 Cultural Commission vacancy, term to expire on March 2nd, 2029.
I have a motion by Councilor Snell and a second by Councilor Martell. Do we have any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please poll the council?
Councilmember Wood?
Thank you. There we go.
Thank you. 8 ayes, no nays, motion carries.
Thank you. We'll go to District 2 and Mayor Pro Tem Holteen.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to appoint Dustin Bruchard to the District 2 Board of Adjustment, term to expire March 2nd, 2029. And I move to appoint Celia Daly to District 2 Cultural Commission, term to expire March 2nd, 2029. And I move to appoint Catherine White to the District 2 Parks and Recreation Commission, term to expire March 2nd, 2029. And I move to reappoint Christine Disney to the District 2 Planning Commission, term to expire March 2nd, 2029.
I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Holteen and a second by Councilor Ohm. Any discussion? Will the clerk please pull, oh, sorry, Councilor Holteen, or Mayor Pro Tem Holteen, sorry.
I just want to thank everyone who put their name in to serve District 2 and the rest of the city. And we're really just fortunate to have such dedicated, passionate people giving their time to do all this good work.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councilor Ohm.
Just one quick comment. I just want to say that Mayor Pro Tem set the gold WR, the Weaver standard, for in the past when we've appointed people. It's been frustrating because sometimes we haven't met them, and we get an application in and we have to appoint them. And what she suggested was, setting up a 15-minute interview with each one, and I learned a lot, and I really appreciated that. I thought that was really well done. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? None, seeing none. Will the clerk please poll the council?
8 ayes, no nays, motion carries.
Thank you. We will go to Councilor Quinn for the District 3 appointments.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to reappoint Laura Sicard to the District 3 Board of Adjustments, term to expire March 2nd, 2029. And I move to reappoint Kathy Plummer to District 3 Cultural Commission, term to expire March 2nd, 2029. I move to appoint Kimberly Cross to the District 3 Parks and Rec Commission, term to expire March 2, 2029. And I move to appoint Simon McGowan to District 3 Planning Commission, term to expire March 2nd, 2028. And I move to appoint Jennifer Gibbs to District 3 Planning Commission, term to expire March 2nd, 2029.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Councilor Quinn and a second by Councilor Wood. Any discussion on the motion? Councilor Quinn.
Just want to thank all the folks from District 3. We was able to appoint everybody that applied for something. And so I just want to thank everyone that put their name in the hat. Appreciate it.
Councilor Wood.
I have to also say thank you. It's nice to have all filled positions when we've had some vacancies for a short time. Thank you all.
Any other comments or questions? All right, seeing none, will the clerk please poll the council?
8 ayes, no nays, motion carries.
Okay, moving on to District 4. Councilor Larson, will you please introduce this, or please make the motion?
District 4 may be last on the list, but is certainly not last in our hearts. In District 4, I move to appoint Andy Sulek for the District 4 Board of Adjustment, term to expire March 2nd, 2029. I move to appoint Antonio Medina to the District 4 Cultural Commission, term to expire March 2nd, 2029. I move to appoint Charlotte Kettering as an out-of-district appointment to District 4 Cultural Commission, term to expire March 2nd, 2027. I move to appoint Pat Cervera to the District 4 Parks and Recreation Commission, term to expire March 2nd, 2029. I move to appoint Anna Sparks to the District 4 Planning Commission, term to expire March 2nd, 2029. And I move to appoint Charlie Hood to the District 4 Renewal Wheat Ridge, term to expire March 2nd, 2031.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Councilor Larson and a second by Councilor Okada. Any questions or comments on the motion? Councilor Okada.
I want to echo the other districts in District 4. Thank you, everybody, for stepping up and putting your time in. We know these time commitments are time is a precious thing for everybody, and so we know that it's a sacrifice that people are doing to volunteer for these positions. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, will the clerk please poll the council?
8 ayes, no nays, motion carries.
Thank you. Our sincere thank you to everybody who put their name in for boards and commissions. You are the reason that we have a city and keep it running, and we really appreciate every single person for doing that and volunteering their time. Moving on to agenda item number 5. Mayor Pro Tem Holteen, will you please introduce this item?
Thank you, Mayor. It is my pleasure and honor to introduce a resolution, resolution number 14, a resolution declaring City of Wheat Ridge support for human dignity and civil rights for all. At issue, the City Council is tasked to consider a resolution affirming the City of Wheat Ridge's commitment to human dignity, civil rights protections, constitutional guarantees, and maintaining community trust and public safety.
Thank you. This is a resolution by the council. It's on second reading. It's not quasi-judicial. Mr. Goff, do we have a presentation, staff presentation?
We don't, but I believe council has additional presentation.
Yep. Go ahead, Councilor, or Mayor Pro Tem Holteen.
Thank you. Did we have anyone signed up to speak about this?
We do. Do you want to
Do we do that before we read it or after?
What do you think?
Probably read it first and then take public comment afterwards.
Okay.
That's typically how we.
Okay, sure. So typically with a resolution, oftentimes staff and maybe a single council person takes the lead putting this together. And we felt the nature of this particular resolution at this point in time really needed to be a collaborative effort across all of council. So we are going to read it. Each member is going to read the whereas statement that they authored for this resolution. So this is truly a unified collaborative effort across all of us, including the mayor. And I just want to say it's a fairly unusual approach to a resolution like this, but we felt given this point in time and the nature of what this resolution is addressing, that it was really important for us to all contribute both our thoughts and our voices. So with that, team, are we ready to read our resolution?
All right.
All right, I will begin. Resolution declaring City of Wheat Ridge support for human dignity and civil rights for all.
Whereas the City of Wheat Ridge affirms that civil rights and human dignity are foundational to safe, thriving, and welcoming communities, and we stand united in protecting the inherent worth and equal protection of every person who calls our city home. And
whereas an atmosphere of fear and uncertainty regarding federal enforcement actions undermines the trust between our community and government institutions, resulting in reduced safety for everyone. And
whereas we acknowledge the fear and uncertainty felt within our own community and recommit ourselves to being present, transparent, and responsive to our residents during this time. And
whereas democratic systems depend upon open institutions, civic participation, and the protection of individual rights, and the City Council recognizes the importance of supporting these principles and its local governance. And
whereas the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution protects the rights of all persons within its borders to freedom of religion, expression, and peaceable assembly. The Fourth Amendment protects against warrantless searches, and the Fifth and 14th Amendments guarantee due process. The civil rights of both citizens and non-citizens must be protected. And
whereas Wheat Ridge City Council supports the rule of law and our Wheat Ridge Police Department, we will not ignore any injustice or unlawful behavior we see where rights guaranteed by the U.S. Constitution are violated at any level. And
whereas the City of Wheat Ridge holds core values of being independent-minded, inclusive, and forward-looking as affirmed in the adopted city plan. Therefore, we disavow actions that may unfairly target community members based on race, color, or country of origin. And
whereas Wheat Ridge is at its best when we overcome differences and stand alongside community leaders and caring neighbors to stay vigilant and to take right action to ensure everyone has safe access to a vibrant community life. And
whereas we must be a light of hope in challenging times and stand firm in our commitment to a peaceful democracy and to strengthen our community while protecting fairness and equal opportunity for all.
now therefore be it resolved that the Wheat Ridge Mayor and City Council are committed to ensuring that our local policies are consistent with our dedication to justice rooted in dignity, equity, accountability, and the protection of civil rights. We call upon all levels of government to act in ways that strengthen rather than harm the communities we serve. And this council reaffirms its commitment to fostering trust, promoting public safety, and ensuring that our community remains a space where all people feel valued and protected.
Done and resolved this 23rd day of February, 2026. Thank you. Thank you. We will go to public comments. We have a few people signed up to speak under this. We'll go first to Morgan Richards, and Doug Bates is on deck.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'm Morgan Richards. I live at 3255 Ames in Wheat Ridge. Thank you for considering this resolution. I appreciate very much you making the commitment to uphold the rule of law in our community. I'm going to read to you the detainment that happened in the city of Wheat Ridge a week ago tomorrow. Confirmed detention. This was posted on the Colorado Rapid Response Network. Confirmed detention, West 38th Avenue and Fenton Street, Wheat Ridge, Colorado, 80212. Caller reports agents at construction job site wearing green bulletproof vests. One person detained. Second witness called to report that agents were seen at Panorama Park with man who was detained, laughing. West 35th Avenue and Fenton Street, Wheat Ridge, Colorado, 80033. Confirmers arrived to location and spoke to workers to confirm activity, and neighbors reported a mix of unmarked vehicles and one or two that said police. Most of the vests they were wearing were unmarked, except for one who was wearing a vest with police on back. Know Your Rights information was shared with community. If you observe suspicious activity, call the hotline, 1-844-864-8341. It is paramount that your resolution in the future has to be backed up with action. This may become more challenging to keep our community members safe. And I do really appreciate you all taking this first step tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Doug Bates is up, and Gary Holmes on deck.
Hello, neighbors, and thank you for the time to speak tonight. Professionally, I work as an IT administrator, and I work a lot with cybersecurity. And I also had the honor of volunteering quite a bit here, both in Wheat Ridge as well as in Arvada and Jefferson County. The makerspace, we get to support so much of this wonderful creative expression they have. And then on the other, in other contexts, I get to help with emergency communications and disaster response initiatives. And I'm here in support of this resolution tonight. And in particular, I want to offer some action items to consider. I've had the experience in my own life of having several of my vehicles stolen. I've had dash cam footage that was provided to police showing terrible accidents, sometimes of crimes. I understand the value of surveillance technology, and I certainly have a huge respect for its purpose. But I also am very mindful of the ways in which its abuse or its neglect can chill speech, it can deter civic engagement, and can threaten our civil rights. And so I very much would like to encourage you to look into this, and in particular, I would offer some resources provided by the ACLU. They have created some model policy language called the Community Control Over Police Surveillance, CCOPS. And another organization to be mindful of is the Electronic Frontier Foundation, and they're providing a lot of useful resources for journalists and protesters and people that need to work in a world that's online and it's moving fast. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Gary Holmes is up.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Appreciate your time. In regards to Resolution 14 declaring support for human dignity and civil rights for all, thank you so much for the hard work that you put in to this daunting task. I can only imagine the work that went into it. So I mean no disrespect. But in addition to the resolution, we would ask that possibly you might study, debate, and act upon specific immigration issues such as prohibiting WRPD officers from entering into ICE deputization agreements, Section 287G agreements. Number 2, prohibiting WRPD from engaging in collateral support for ICE operations in the city of Wheat Ridge or elsewhere. Number 3, insisting that immigration enforcement in Wheat Ridge be made using judicial warrants rather than using civil detainers. And number 4, prohibiting any immigration enforcement officers working in Wheat Ridge from being unidentifiable. Again, I can't imagine the work that went into this. We have personal relationship with an immigrant family, young, beautiful family that faced unbelievable horrors to get here from Venezuela. And all they want is a place to better their situation for their young children and themselves. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. We will have, thank you. We will go to questions from council. Seeing none, Mayor Pro Tem Holteen, will you please make a motion?
Yes, I move to approve resolution number 14-2026, a resolution declaring City of Wheat Ridge support for human dignity and civil rights for all.
Second.
I have a second by Councilor Snell. Do we have discussion on the motion? Mayor Pro Tem Holteen.
I was voting for the resolution already. I just want to thank everyone for coming and speaking tonight. This is a really electric issue in our community. A lot of it is neighbors who are caring about neighbors, either neighbors they know or neighbors that they know exist in our community. So this really comes out of a lot of concern. We're fortunate in Colorado that our state legislature has taken some action and is looking at taking additional statewide action that gives us additional protections that other communities across the United States don't have. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't be looking at what we can do here locally. I do have a question actually coming. I should have asked this during questions. We heard from a speaker earlier tonight asking about whether we can prohibit detention centers. And I'm just curious if we have anything in our zoning code that would actually allow that type of use. I don't know if that's something that Director Michalak or Patrick can answer.
Yes, we'll turn over to Director Michalak first, maybe.
Yeah, I'll start. Certainly not a specific land use in the zoning code, and typically if use is not permitted, it's presumed not allowed. There's language around that. I don't know and would ask Mr. Dahl to perhaps opine on whether state and federal bodies are subject to local zoning codes.
Lauren is correct. You know, the standard approach or the structure of the city zoning code is if a use is not listed, it's prohibited. So from a local standpoint, and she's more familiar with the use schedule than I am, but I'm fairly familiar with it, and that's a term in a land use that just I know doesn't appear. So as a matter of the city zoning code, would not be permitted. Pardon me. We've seen, of course, actions by the state legislature in the past on other subjects to declare that something's a use by right, whether or not we say it is locally. Certain facilities in the right of way, communication facilities, things like that. Quite obviously, the state legislature is not going to be doing that, and in fact would be going in the other direction. That leaves us with federal action, and the federal government can preempt local activities only if it's part of the federal mission. And I think it's way too early to be able to determine whether the detention centers in this particular context are something that the federal government would insist be a local zoning preemption. So we haven't gotten to that. For example, if it's a military facility, that's allowed in an area, whether or not it's permitted by local zoning. So local jurisdictions can't say, no, you can't have an army base, for example. And in the past, that's not been an issue. So the federal government would have to be treating these facilities in the same way. And I suspect there would be some court challenges to that. We'll clearly know more, but as a matter of local law and quite likely state law, no, they would not be allowed.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Councilor Martell.
Thank you, Mayor. Excuse me. I just would like to say thank you to my fellow council members and to Mayor Stites for working together on this resolution. And each of us were tasked and allowed to submit our own whereas statements when we put this together. And I'm very proud of the work each of us have done and how each of us have come to this from very unique perspectives and very unique places. But as we came together with our individual ideas, the flow and the language really feels very organic to me and very meaningful and represents, I think, all of us as a body working together from very different perspectives and wanting to move forward together for our community. And I just really appreciate this opportunity and the work that we've done and all of the feedback we've received, not only here, but many comments online. And we really appreciate our community giving us feedback and to be able to be here for our community. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Quinn.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I too want to thank my co-councilors for the work they put in. And prior to this, Councilor Snell and Mayor Pro Tem Holteen, putting together the community safety meeting at the rec center. And I want to thank our chief of police for being there and being very transparent and very open and honest about our police department's role, what they can, what they can't do. Lastly, I want to thank you all for coming here. I've known Brother Holmes for a long time working on my day job, and that was very touching, and thanks, Gary, for that, and thank you all again.
Thank you. Councilor Wood.
I also have to add a thank you to my fellow councilors and to Mayor Stites. But I also want to say thank you to those who spoke tonight. And I have to believe that your voices are similar to those in our community that weren't able to be here tonight. It's very heartening. I mean, to me, it means that we're stronger together. Thank you for coming.
Any other? Councilor Snell.
Thank you, Mayor. I also would like to echo thank yous. I'd also just like to take a beat and think about when we as a council come together and put this forward and put the work into it and use our hearts and our brains and work together on something like this. It is a beautiful thing, but it is also just a starting point. And I feel like this is really scary times, and there's a lot at stake, and there's a lot more leaning on each other and looking out for each other and advice and giving us feedback. And I just want to say that I'm here for it. I know that there's a lot of work to do, so this is a great thing. I'm very proud of our community for doing this, for embracing it. Thank you all so much for the comments, for writing in, for the emails, and keep them coming. We want to hear from you. But I am so proud of us for doing this, but just know it's just a starting place, and can't wait to do all this work with you.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right. I will say Mayor Pro Tem Holteen and I got together last Monday to put this together, and it took us about 8 seconds. You guys did a fantastic job writing it flowed right immediately. So seeing no more comments, will the clerk please poll the council?
8 ayes, no nays, motion carries.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. That is all of our agenda items for this meeting. City managers matters.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple quick items. Our very own Honorina Maloney, our senior deputy city clerk, was recently earned her designation of Master Municipal Clerk from the International Institute of Municipal Clerks. This designation only goes to municipal clerks who complete demanding education requirements and have a record of significant contributions to their local government, community, and state. So congratulations. Another item, good news also, the city of Wheat Ridge was recently awarded a transit-oriented community infrastructure grant. for $4.5 million. This will support the Foothills Regional Housing Ridge Road Infrastructure Project. Wheat Ridge, thanks to our wonderful staff, Lauren and Shannon, our housing manager, we were the first in the state to submit our compliance report to the Department of Local Affairs, meeting the requirements of House Bill 2413, which requires certain code changes related to affordable housing. And we got the most funding in this first round of grants. There was 4 awards, and Wheat Ridge received the most. So very, very proud of that. So thanks, Lauren, and your staff.
Fantastic.
That's it.
Thank you. City Attorney's matters.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dahl. We'll go to elected officials matters, and we'll start with Councilor Okada.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to say thank you to everybody that came out to the District 4 meeting that we had last Tuesday. Had a lot of, it felt like really good attendance, especially for what we've seen previously in District 4, and a lot of good concerns from the community, good conversations to be had there. And also, it was, I believe, the last day of Mardi Gras. That's the right way to say it. And there was a delicious king cake there that Mr. Larson, or Councilmember Larson, brought. It was, I think, at least 7/8 gone, and no one found the baby. So, yeah.
He showed up later.
He showed up later. Good, good. But that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Larson.
And thank you, Mayor. And speaking of Foothills Regional Housing and the project out at Miller and Ridge, if you've not been out there, the next time you drive by, have a look, because all 7 of those buildings have come down. There was a bit of a delay at first getting, because there was apparently more asbestos in there than they had anticipated, but they managed to get all that out, and the buildings themselves were brought down, and they've begun the site excavation. So that project is moving forward very, very quickly. And I think everybody's going to be impressed when that thing is open. The connection between Foothills Regional Housing and and Red Rocks College and the Red Rocks Community College's medical technology and nursing programs are all going to be kind of tied in. It's going to be a real jewel for the community. And the other item I had was, speaking of the RTD line, were we? Speaking of the RTD line, I did see an article that staff at RTD has recommended to the board increasing the frequency of the trains running on the G line that comes through our community from once every half an hour to once every 15 minutes. And I think that would make a tremendous difference in terms of the convenience and being able to get on an RTD train and head off somewhere. But yeah, though that was encouraging, and that is all I have. Thank you,
Councilor Larson. Councilor Wood.
I just wanted to say I had the pleasure this weekend of attending the Colorado Environmental Film Festival, which is held annually in Golden. I was only able to be there for Friday night, but they had films on Saturday as well. And apparently this has been going on for 20 years. And the reason I bring that up in the context of Wheat Ridge is because Wheat Ridge is focused on sustainability. We have a sustainability commission, and we're also very focused on environmental stewardship. So perhaps next year it'll be something that we'll all want to attend, or even maybe have a table at. So it was a good event.
Thank you. Councilor Quinn.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attended a couple of ribbon cutting ceremonies with the mayor and some other councilors in the city at the meat shop on 38th. Pretty neat little place. The Sioux Ball State Farm Agency and the Seven Brew crew. I can't hardly read this anymore. the Seven Brew ribbon cutting. That's kind of a neat establishment as well. So thanks everyone for attending to that. And I attended the Colorado Municipal League's legislative conference last Thursday. And there's a lot of legislation out there that they're keeping an eye on that can affect cities statewide. Probably some unfunded mandates, but there's a horrific budget problem at the state level. And our own legislative committee here's got their work cut out with things coming down the pike. So I just want to say thanks to them and appreciate the opportunity to go.
Thank you. Councilor Martell.
Thank you, Mayor. Wow, there's been a lot going on. So Mayor Stites has mentioned a few times the Wadsworth Recovery Grant Program that has been in the works, and the program was completed with all businesses receiving funds notified today, and $75,000 has been allocated to those businesses along the Wadsworth corridor, which is great, and those businesses should be receiving their money, I think, within the week, but they've all been notified, so that's a great win for our business community. And I do believe there is opportunity and need to reach more businesses. And I respectfully ask council tonight for support to add a discussion item to the March 2nd study session to stand up a second round of the Wadsworth Recovery Grant Program.
Do we have support for that? We do. So we'll add that to this, or well, Mayor Pro Tem and the city manager will add that to the future agendas.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I do have a couple other things. I was fortunate to attend the CML legislative workshop as well with several of my peers, and it was very impressive, and the amount of work going on in our community and across other municipalities is just amazing. And I will also echo Councilmember Quinn that our legislative committee has a lot on their plates, and I believe they are up to the task. Also, the Clear Creek Makerspace just recently completed their big power upgrade that we've been waiting for a while. We got 100 more amps of power. It's complete. We have lots of new equipment coming and lots of equipment we've had for a while that we've never been able to plug in, including a CNC plasma cutter in the metal shop that I'm very excited for. So super excited. If anyone is interested in the Makerspace, this is a great time to sign up for a tour or sign up for a class and come check us out. And also the Makerspace is turning 2, and we are having a terrible 2 tantrum birthday party on April 1st at the Makerspace. So I encourage you all to come, and I'm sure mention it many times before then to remind you all about it. And then lastly, I would like to take this opportunity to thank all of the District 1 residents who applied for boards and commission positions in this last round of openings. It's always great to see people who have been engaged stay engaged, and it's even more exciting when we see new names on those lists and we get new people involved in boards and commissions. It's such a great way to start your journey into being involved in the community. So thank you to those who applied that we were able to appoint, and we will keep your names in mind for those who we weren't able to appoint, and we look forward to seeing what great things happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Snell.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a few things. I first want to just take a moment to recognize my co-counselors and Mayor Stites and Mayor Pro Tem Hulteen, especially for all the work that went into our community safety meeting. I was unfortunately unable to attend after having done a good bit of planning for it. We had a death in the family, but I have heard nothing but great things, and I think that it's just another testament to us as a community sticking together, looking out for each other, providing feedback, providing information, and thank you to all of you that were there. Really, really important, and I think it was a huge success. So thank you for attending that. Also, just want to mention last Tuesday, Councilor Martell and I had our one of our office hours at Wolf and Wildflower. And I just want to recognize folks for coming by to talk about anything that's on their mind. We've got some folks that are vying for like the most attended meetings. I think we've got folks that have come to every single coffee meeting. And so it's turned into a really great thing. And I invite anyone to come by and just see what we're talking about, bring new topics. Our next one is March 3rd, Tuesday, 9 to 11 at Wolf and Wildflower. And then we will not be meeting that second Tuesday in March. And then we'll make a decision on a new location for the next quarter. So always have those available. And we really appreciate when folks come and just talk, ask questions, anything, because we want to be there for you. And then one more thing I thought I had. Oh, yes. Tomorrow, right here in council chambers, Rep. Brittany Pedersen's team will hold mobile office hours from 3 to 5 They will be here to help with passports, IRS, veterans benefits, Medicare, Social Security, or any federal agency. So those folks will be here. They already have quite a few appointments, but they're going to be here and help as many folks as they can. And Counselor Martell and I will also be here just answering questions, inviting folks to coffee or anything that we can do as well. So 3 to 5 right here. Come on back. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Counselor Ohm.
Thank you, Mayor. One thing I did want to bring up is I've asked staff to remove the emails and the phone numbers from the application packets, from those being posted online. That is a concern of mine for a lot of reasons. And I think, and they've said that is, I think, a possibility. Correct, Jerry?
Yes, I worked with the city manager today, and we've got that'll be done. And then on a going forward basis, I'm going to look at the application form for boards and commissions to better just kind of advise people ahead of time and make that a little more standard rather than an after the fact redaction. But we'll take care of the current ones, and going forward, I'm going to take a careful look at the form and arrive at a decision. I think that's the right kind of ongoing permanent approach.
Thank you. And then I have a question for Director Mikulak. Do you have an update for the car wash?
I do, a quasi update. We, as I think some of you know, we tried to do a coordinated full court press sound measurement a couple of Fridays ago, and that was unsuccessful because one of the bays had been damaged by a roof rack the night before. So we're trying to align staff availability to get at least 4 or 5 people out there with vehicles to run through the vacuums and the car wash at the same time. That will likely get scheduled in early March based on my most recent conversation with our consultant. In the meantime, he is taking a more passive measurement so that he can provide a more robust analysis and report to you all. So still engaged, but just not moving forward as quickly as we'd like.
Thank you. And then the last thing I wanted to say was I'm always concerned about water. I'm looking outside. This is very, very unusual that, you know, it's so warm out. We're going to hit 70 maybe tomorrow. And I have a lot of concerns for the water. What's going to happen? I know our prices have gone up. And so if anybody ever has any questions about water conservation, please ask me or staff. My thoughts are, in my mind, I'm already going to be tearing out some very old grass in my yard and converting that into some drought tolerant grass. And then I have another section that I'm going to tear out and just put in some native grasses that I think will really be pretty. And that's something that I just feel like I can just feel it, the scarcity of water. And it's something that that's where we are. And so I would encourage anybody, please feel free to water your trees, but please don't water your lawn right now. We still got a long ways to go. I usually don't turn mine on until April, but it's usually not 70 degrees in February. So, but yeah, please have a conversation if you'd like. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Holteen.
Well, I will mix it up between boring things and exciting things. I'll start with the boring things. All the committees I've sat through in the last couple of weeks. I had Dr. Cog board meeting, and nothing too exciting there other than they are organizing actually a partnership field trip to go to Puget Sound and learn a little bit more about how that regional council of government is addressing some of its housing issues. So I'm looking forward to hopefully joining that trip in May. As has been mentioned, I was part of the really robust Wheat Ridge table that was at the CML legislative workshop. Like, we really, I think, would have won for the most people there. And I think maybe finally more people will mistake Westminster for Wheat Ridge than the other way around. But it was really helpful. I'll mention one of the things, unfortunately, was at the end of the day and a lot of the room had kind of trickled out, but some of our advocacy partners from National League of Cities were there to give us sort of an inside report of what's happening in Washington on our behalf. And for those who don't know, Wheat Ridge is a member of National League of Cities, and they advocate on behalf of cities and towns at the federal level. And they're doing real meaningful work every day inside Congress and inside the White House to make sure that our interests are being represented and that they're hearing from community members across the country, like what is happening in our communities based off of federal legislative and policy decisions. So we have a really strong voice, and we're really fortunate. I participate on the Transportation and Infrastructure Services Committee, and they're putting forward a bill called BASIC. I think it's got an acronym that's great that I can't remember, but it's really advocating that federal transportation dollars are actually, those decisions are made locally and regionally and not at the federal and state level. And so I'm working pretty actively with our federal partners to make sure that that gets through. We'll see if Congress can do anything, but that would give us a lot more local control over how we spend the right we have to our own tax dollars. And then I actually sit on the CML Policy Committee. It's legislative session. It's crazy. We have several bills that we're tracking, and we're going to be meeting tomorrow to identify the priority bills that the legislative committee is going to be asking for staff analysis so that we can take the most strategic action on the bills that have the most impact on our city. So we are very busy with that. And then in the fun bucket, I don't know why my colleague failed to mention that District 2 is having a meeting this Saturday. I thought he would do it. So this Saturday, 3 o'clock, Stylus and Crate, District 2, come talk to us. We have some stuff we'd love to share with you, but more than anything, we really want to hear from you. We have a lot of District 2 people here tonight. But it's better to get around the table, have some coffee, or it's 3 in the afternoon, you could have a glass of wine if you want. So we really hope to see you there. And then my last thing, it's kind of random, but we had a lot of bird drama at my house this weekend. And to Councilmember Ohm's comments around water, like things are a little bit out of season. And birds are coming, like the birds are actually coming through earlier than they typically are. We had a Cooper's hawk get a starling right on my front porch, and the magpies all showed up, and it was a lot of drama. But things are a little bit out of season. And so whether it's bird drama or weeds popping up in February, just be mindful of how we're responding and impacting, because we have a long year ahead of us. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Oh, we'll go back to Councilor Snow.
Apologies, I should have mentioned this earlier. I was wondering, earlier we had a comment about a request for paving on, I believe it was Holland Street. Mr. Goff, I just wondered if you could,
Yeah,
if we could look into that.
I reached out to her and
Okay,
got the information.
You're already on it. Not surprised. Thank you.
That's why he's the manager. He's good. He's good. He's the man. He's the manager. There you go. I like it. Well, I've been Johnny Cash last week. I've been everywhere, man. I had a great time at the District 4 meeting. There was some fantastic discussion. Every district has different issues, different thing that's come up, and it was great to have a good turnout there, and it was a great conversation. Really enjoyed it, and the cake was phenomenal. That was pretty good. There were several ribbon cuttings last week. The meat shop on 38th, fantastic place. Sue Ball Insurance Agency down on about 50th and Kipling. 25 years in Wheat Ridge. That's pretty phenomenal. So absolutely love working with Sue Ball. Seven Brew, if you guys have been down Wadsworth, and hopefully everybody's been enjoying the flow of traffic on Wadsworth, it's flowing a lot better, and the turn lanes seem to be working out really well. But the brand new Seven Brew Coffee opened up last week. We did the ribbon cutting there. And the Edison apartment complex, which has some of the most beautiful apartments I have seen, and some very tall vaulted hallways and stuff, has been open for 5 years. So we did a ribbon cutting there as an anniversary. So absolutely fantastic. So make sure you get out on Wadsworth and try it out. Councilor Martell brought up the Wadsworth Recovery Grant Program. That was something that I was able to work with Paige Piper Local Works with to put that together for the last budget season. Absolutely proud that we were able to get that money out to those businesses. And I appreciate Councilor Martell for asking for a second round, because there was definitely a need for it. Those of us that sat in on those conversations and know that there were even a couple people that didn't quite make the deadline. So it'll be great to help out some of those businesses on Wadsworth. But I really do want to thank Paige and Local Works, the business district, the councilors, Snell, Martell, and Larson, who were able to join us for that and really make that work out. So hopefully with the second round, we can make it even better. Let's see. Oh, Coffee with the Mayor was a huge success. I believe we had almost 30 people for our last one, which was at Stuyvesant Crate on Valentine's Day. I'm sure some people were in the doghouse for being there rather than with their spouses, but neither here nor there for me. But coming up on March 14th, we'll be at the Active Adult Center for Coffee with the Mayor, 9 a.m. Everybody's welcome to join us. If you've never been to the Active Adult Center, it is a really cool place. If you're under the age of probably 50, 55, you probably never thought about it, but they do offer classes, pottery, clay, that sort of thing for people of all ages, but typically it's about 50-50 up. So fantastic stuff going on there, but we'll see everybody there on March 14th. Tomorrow morning, the Wheat Ridge Coalition for Education is meeting at Wheat Ridge High School at 9 a.m. to discuss what's going on with our schools and how we can help out a little bit more. Speaking of schools, I was able to get this really cool swag. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but Cub Scout Pack 240. One of the reasons some of you guys saw me sprinting in here right at 6:30 was I had the opportunity at 6 o'clock today to go speak to the Cub Scouts about civic responsibility and pride and being elected and how all that works. And most of you know my history, having a grandfather who was mayor and a dad who was a councilman and all that. It's really cool when the kids, and they had amazing questions. One kid actually did solve all tax problems. He said we should just stop taxes and just make a charity. So, you know, we can talk about that. I don't know if that'll work out, but we'll see how it goes. So, thank you to Cub Scouts 240, and hopefully, if you are involved in Cub Scouts or Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts or however the Scouts work now, and you're looking for those badges. I would sure I'm happy to come, but our counselors are always happy to probably step in and talk to the kids about how we work that. And I know part of our Wheat Ridge 102 program was youth engagement and that sort of thing. That's something Mayor Pro Tem Holteen and I are fairly passionate about, getting our youth a little bit more involved in our city and helping them out. I left them with the same way that I leave all of our meetings. Our city is better when we work together. We saw that tonight, and I want to thank everybody who was here. I want to thank everybody who applied for boards and commissions. It was kind of a pleasure to go through that this time and see a lot of new names and a lot of people looking to get involved in the city, and I think that's really important to make sure that we're all doing the right thing. So thank you to everybody who did that. Thank you to everybody who was here tonight to speak. We will be moving to our special study session. Oh, Councilor Quinn.
Before we close, Mr. Mayor, I have one question of you. What bet did you lose to have to wear that tie?
You don't like my tie?
Just kidding.
This is my duck tie.
I think it's great.
This is cool. I
thought it was funny.
The kids liked it. Half of them started singing Rubber Ducky, which was pretty cool. I thought that was pretty neat. But we will go ahead and close out our meeting tonight. We'll take a 6-minute break and be back at 8 o'clock for our special study session. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome back. We're going to open our special study session tonight. It is February 23rd, 2026. It is 8:02. Gave you guys a little longer than I said I would. We have one agenda item on our study session tonight, which is our 2J bond sidewalk gap funding. We will go to public comments. We had several people speak during our meeting, but we have a couple people who are signed up for public comment for the special study session. You may speak only on the topic that's we're speaking about tonight. First up, Candace Tomlinson and Deb Smith-Davies on deck.
Do I have to give my name and address? And all
Yes,
that
please.
stuff?
State your name for the record and spell your last name, and then let us know if you live or work in Wheat Ridge.
Okay, so Candace Tomlinson, Tomlinson, 8600 West 41st Avenue, Wheat Ridge. Anyway, my comments tonight concern the sidewalk gap project on Dover from 38 to 44th. I made some detailed comments on Wheat Ridge Speak, so I assume you've read those. So I'll be respectful of everyone's time and not repeat those written comments. But I did have a couple of points I wanted to reiterate. First, I do want to thank you for starting to address some of the problems on Dover with this sidewalk gap project. Curb, sidewalks, and gutters will certainly help with the stormwater drainage damage problems that many of us have experienced for many years along Dover, as well as provide some pedestrian and bike safety against the ever-increasing traffic on Dover. And I will, just to clarify, so I live on the corner of 41st and Dover, so part of my property is on Dover and the other side is on 41st. So even though my address is 41st, what happens on Dover greatly impacts me. And however, even though I'm happy about some things maybe happening on Dover, the complete lack of communication about this project is upsetting and frustrating. My house is 75 years old, so put yourself in our shoes after 75 years of being able to use the right-of-way and then all of a sudden being told that you're not going to do that, and maybe you have landscaping, you have fencing, you have other stuff in there. It's going to be upsetting. And so I wish the city, when this had come up, because it was certainly not under the original scope of 2J, I don't believe that they would have notified us and let us know that this was a possibility and what the impacts would be. So it gives us some time to get some things taken care of. I will have to move substantial amounts of landscaping out of the right of way, so, or save what I can. So it does have a lot of impact, and when the city doesn't let us know, it leads to a lot of anger and distrust, and I really hate to see that happen. And then finally, I'm going to continue to beat the drum on the whole Dover traffic issue, and that this sidewalk gap project in no way addresses the ongoing traffic issues that are happening on Dover and in the Bel Air neighborhood, and the associated safety, pollution, and quality of life issues that the increased traffic volume brings. So the development pressure on Dover is just going to continue with Lutheran, maybe a new city hall. Now Wilmore Davis is surplused, so there might be development there. So it's just continuing. And some of us have been trying to work and advocate for our neighborhood for 3 years or longer concerning the traffic issues with really, unfortunately, little to no progress, in my opinion. So then the surprise of the sidewalk gap project just kind of adds to the frustration and the confusion on what is going on with Dover and the traffic. And what is the city going to do? What, when, where, if? So I guess that was all my comments. But I would just like to see the city communicate better and re-engage with us on what is going on in Dover and the traffic and the Bel Air neighborhood in general. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Deb Smith-Davies up and Kim Calamino on deck.
name's Deb Schmidt-Davies. I live at 3960 Dover Street. I've lived there since 1982. My husband's been there since 1971. And I sent an email, I don't know if everyone got it. Patrick shared it with you folks. I'll just read it. I didn't anyway. It's regarding the apparently GAP project. I didn't realize it was this far along. The road and right of way on this has been neglected on 38th to 44th has been woefully neglected for decades, as long as it has been incorporated. And we can count the number of times that Dover Street's been resurfaced or chip sealed. This is the first time that Dover Street 38th to 44th has been resurveyed and also mapped for elevation. I don't recall a resurvey being done when 38th was reconstructed to 32 feet. I think it's 32 feet in 1995. I am confused as to why the city is addressing this issue now. Over 50 years later, nearly, it seems disingenuous, or perhaps an attempt to copy Denver's new zeal for concrete neighborhoods with a sidewalk path. Here are my concerns. Please do not restore the character of Dover Street with soil-suffocating concrete sidewalks and wider asphalt road surface. The charm of many of Wheat Ridge neighborhood streets is no sidewalk and narrow streets. Solving the stormwater issue and excess cut-through traffic can be managed with less destructive and more cost-effective methods, i.e. biological swales, permeable concrete swales, and soil stabilizers. Permeable concrete swales will not require road widening. They double as a sidewalk and allow on-street parking. Please choose to be good stewards of what is left of our beautiful and natural Wheat Ridge city. Lastly, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Kim Calamino.
Good evening, Kim Calamino, Calomino. I live at 4070 Dover Street. And you've heard from some of my neighbors already. And I think those of you who are not new to council know that these neighbors and others have come to many times with lots of concerns about our Dover Street from 38th to 44th. Primary among them, in my opinion, is uncontrolled stormwater that is damaging the street again and again, flooding people's yards, driveways, basements, and carrying debris into our yards, driveways, and thankfully not into basements, but certainly filling up the corner just before the stormwater drain at 41st. It requires the water to turn a corner and go a little bit uphill to actually reach the stormwater drain. In case you didn't know, maybe you just want to drive down the street. I have three neighbors up the hill south of me who's have huge holes in front of their houses in the street, whose driveways fill with water when there's a storm event. Now, we haven't had much moisture, so you can't see what it looks like right now when that happens, but you can certainly see the effects. So stormwater has to be managed. I am not opposed to sidewalks, gutters, and what the other one is called. Sorry. I do believe at one time there were swales that controlled the water, and those have been filled in with landscaping. People park in them. We've built our own swale because we were being flooded regularly. That's the main issue in my mind. But we have also talked for a long time about how much traffic we have from cut-through traffic, and that means also people are driving fast because it's not their neighborhood. It's a right away for them. So I understand that the sidewalk gap project isn't meant to address all of those things, but certainly they need to be things that get considered. And I agree with my neighbors who said we kind of got caught by surprise here. I try to pay attention, maybe not as close as I should have, but this came sort of nearly fully baked without my being aware. And our neighborhood deserves to be involved in the conversation before anything proceeds. And I'd be glad to host a meeting or to invite people to come and meet with you. And I think that's a very good next step. Thank you.
Thank you. We will kick it over to Mr. Goff for our agenda item tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before I start, I just want to reiterate with council and our speakers that nothing's fully baked. Tonight's a study session to talk about this with city council and get direction. As you know, we've been talking about these types of issues for quite some time. We've had numerous conversations with the residents on Dover Street over the years, and I believe it was communicated to them that we were going to have funding available this year to at least make some road improvements. As we get into the presentation, you'll see that we want to leverage those road improvements with looking at other potential improvements to deal with also drainage, traffic. Doesn't mean there has to be sidewalks, curb and gutter, but those are the traditional ways to control drainage. But we are, as part of the road maintenance project, we are going to be looking at other ways to help maybe discourage cut through traffic along Dover. But I do apologize that they felt they were, we weren't being very transparent, but glad you're here this evening and happy to take any questions that you may have. But we'll start out with slide 1. So as a reminder for everybody in council, in November of 23, Wheat Ridge voters approved the extension of a half-cent sales and use tax, and also the authority to authorize bonds up to $75 million for critical infrastructure, including sidewalk repair, bike lanes, and filling sidewalk gaps, with a specific emphasis on routes to schools and major pedestrian corridors. The funding is also specifically designated for drainage projects and other major street corridor projects. And I think this question may have came up earlier under public comments, but in general, we have $75 million, but we're hoping to leverage some grants, which we already have for some projects. So we have almost $94 million. About $40 million of that right now we have allocated towards corridor projects, and this would be over the next 6 years or so. About $12 million allocated for drainage projects. We're hoping to decrease that amount if city council considers a stormwater fee. We won't need to spend all that $12 million out of 2J. Some of that could be diverted to either corridors or sidewalk gaps. And then right now we have about $42 million allocated toward sidewalk projects and bike lane projects. Let's see, get back to my slide. Okay, so we are here tonight to provide you with an update on the progress of the sidewalk gap portion of 2J and to seek council's direction and support on advancing potentially 6 segments for construction in 26 and 27. I do have here this evening, I'm going to give a high-level overview, but I do have with us tonight our Community Development Director and our Public Works Director. But then also Olson is an engineering consultant. They are here this evening who helped us with some of the initial design, or not design, there's really no design, but engineering analysis of these specific corridors so we could come up with potential cost. So the project list was developed through years of community feedback, surveys, and long-range planning. As I mentioned, the city partnered with Olson and to evaluate 15 projects that you see here on this map. 13 are sidewalk gap projects and 2 are hawk signal installations, which we will talk about here in a little bit. As you can see, these projects do span the entirety of the community and focus on those primary pedestrian corridors, which the ballot question stated. So the criteria we use to prioritize, I can't even say, prioritize, somebody say it for me. Prioritize these segments include, first of all, proximity to parks and schools. So there was a major focus on placing improved pedestrian safety and access near educational and rec facilities such as Prospect Valley School, Fruitdale Park, and Paramount Park. Connectivity and network context was another criteria. Segments were chosen based on their ability to close gaps in the existing sidewalk neighborhood and connect residential neighborhoods to major pedestrian corridors, local businesses, and future trail systems. Technical feasibility, what's the ease of construction, limited utility relocation requirements, and minimal right-of-way acquisition needs. We know some sidewalk projects across the city are going to require more right-of-way than others. We did focus on some that don't require much this first go-around, but some do. ADA accessibility, all selected segments will be designed to meet ADA standards. I know there was a comment earlier about maybe not focusing on some of the quieter neighborhoods where the sidewalks are smaller. Synergy with maintenance and other projects. The Dover Street project is an example of that. Again, we have money set aside outside of 2J in our annual preventative maintenance to make sure that we do a mill and overlay project and any other improvements along Dover as well. And then strategic distribution, as I mentioned earlier, making sure that we have equitable distribution of improvements across the city. So this slide here shows what staff is recommending for the first phase of our GAP program. These would be priority segments for 26 and 27. You can see the ones highlighted in green out of the first 13 are the ones we're recommending. We're asking for your comment and feedback on that. But we'll get into these each individually, but a project on Parfait, Miller, 26th Avenue, Dover Street, Pierce Street, Harlan Street, and then 2 Hawk signals, which we'll talk about here in a bit. And you can see these are still fairly evenly distributed across the city. So the first couple projects, the first project is Parfait Street from 35th to approximately 3,500 got the right street? Parfait Street, sorry. Yes, this is a very small segment, but it's an easy win, which closes a gap that's in proximity to Prospect Valley School. And the second project up here is Harlan Street from 32nd to 35th. This connects the Active Adult Center and Panorama Park to future multimodal improvements that we have for 35th Avenue. The next 2 projects, Miller Street, this was mentioned by the caller that called in earlier. This is from 45th to 47th Place. This is improving safety near Fruitdale Park, Mountain Phoenix, and Compass Montessori schools. Very important issues there we've had. 26th Avenue, this is another important one, from Oak Street to Paramount Parkway. We've heard comments from our public about this one. People want to walk more safely to the Gold's Market, which is a new destination point in the city. And it's also a destination to Paramount Park and Crown Hill Park in the city. And then Dover Street, you heard from the speakers this evening, from 38th to 44th. As I mentioned, Dover is scheduled for mill and overlay repairs to repair the road. We've received numerous complaints over the years about, you heard it again tonight, pedestrian safety, drainage issues, and traffic on this corridor. And one of our most extensive projects that we're recommending is Pierce Street from 29th to 44th. This is a major north-south pedestrian route in the city. We've received numerous comments from our public over the years. This is spanning 1.25 miles. This would connect residents to both local businesses on 38th Avenue and to parks as well in the area. So in addition to those first 6 pedestrian segments, gap segments that we're recommending, we are also looking at the possibility to install 2 Hawk signals. And we are looking at not using the 2J funds. The 2J would supplement, but we are looking at a highway safety improvement grant for both of the Hawk signals. I believe I was told the Hawk signals are about $250,000 each. They could be, so it's a high number. We're hoping to leverage some grant funds to help with those. And the 2 areas that we're looking at here, this would coincide with some improvements on Miller for the GAP project. The first one is at 44th and Miller, adjacent to Compass Montessori, and it goes up to Mountain Phoenix and also Fruitdale Park. The second HAWK signal, and again, HAWK stands for High Intensity Activated Crosswalk Technology, and I think I put a longer definition in your staff memo. But second location is on, we're recommending is 44th and Lamar Street. And that area is near, it's a high activity zone near a park, church, and other commercial properties. So timeline, we are here tonight to get feedback from council to move forward with initial package such as this or any recommendations you may have. We believe we can complete about 2 or 3 of these this year and the rest next year in 2027. And that's when we will begin planning for a phase 2 sidewalk gap program. As you see, we have many other areas in the city we would like to do, and we do have more revenues from the bond that we can use for those. The preliminary cost for these first segments is about $11.9 million. And as I mentioned, we hope to leverage grant funds such as the Highway Safety Improvement Program, federal grants, and then also coordinate projects with any preventative street maintenance projects such as Dover. The projects we are suggesting for this first round are a combination of quick wins like Parfait and Harlan, but also very higher complex projects such as Pierce Street. And then, as I mentioned, focusing on some other high incident, high traffic intersections with some HAWK signals, both on 44th Avenue. So with that, I think that's it. It is. We are here for any questions you may have.
Thank you. We'll go to questions from council. Councilor Wood.
So I appreciate the staff report, which was really it explained a lot, and I appreciate your presentation of it. The question I have, because the concern about stormwater was brought up in a couple of the people who spoke tonight, is that there are drainage improvements that are listed in one bucket, and there are sidewalk repair listed in another bucket. In doing the sidewalk repair, will drainage or stormwater conveyance be addressed as a concern?
It can be. You want to speak to that, Kim?
Thank you. Yeah, Dover's kind of an anomaly. When I first came here, staff has spent significant time out on Dover nearly every time it rains. I think one of the residents actually said they live on the corner of 41st and Dover. Every time it rains, we need to go out there and clean that up, and it just makes a mess. And our team's been out there probably 80 hours, and we've spent probably $10,000 with different hot mixes and potholing and trying to do it. So last year we identified through our, Patrick mentioned our mill and overlay program, that this would be a candidate for a mill and overlay. The pavement condition index currently is a 39, which is very poor. So they don't get much lower than that. So we did earmark that, and then with all these other things that were coming up, the storm drain and stuff, instead of trying to pick at it one thing at a time, we said, well, this seems like a perfect ideal package to put this into our 2J program and address all these concerns, which would be the storm and the sidewalk, the curb and gutter, and the pavement itself. There are options we can look at. Again, we are just initially kicking this thing off and trying to find out where things are at. So the Olson team has been out doing the surveying in the area. So that's, I think, what the folks have been seeing, just trying to figure out where the right of way is and find out what the extents of the street is and where the problem areas are. And that's what they put together kind of in this package. So their proposal for Dover Street does include the mill and overlay, curb and gutter, sidewalks, and storm drainage replacement. Again, we can make modifications as we get through the design and see. Maybe we don't need to put sidewalks everywhere. Maybe curb and gutter would be fine. But again, we are at the infant stage of figuring out what this is, but it did make sense to package Dover into one larger package.
Thank you. Councilor Okada.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, city staff, for putting this together. This was very clear. Looking in District 4, I do feel like the Project 6 and Project 7, which are part of the priority list, that probably is the most important part for the GAP project in District 4. That feels right to me. I do have some questions about some of the other ones. I know that that Project 10, the Garrison Street gaps, those definitely are ones that I've personally felt quite a bit. But up in my neck of the woods on the north side of I-70, the Project 2 and Project 3, I have just a couple of questions about those. Project 2, I imagine, makes sense for us to not do in the beginning of this and not be prioritized, but I don't want to make assumptions about why. That 52nd Avenue, when it goes straight over to that our boundary with Arvada, has a break in the street there. So when I first saw that on this list, I thought maybe that might be a part of the project to be able to connect those streets, but I realized pretty quickly that that's probably not the case. Do we have any information or updates about the potential of those two streets ever finally making contact with each other?
Yeah.
The short answer is I don't know that there's a plan for the streets to connect, but it has been a pedestrian priority for quite some time, especially with the development that you're seeing in Arvada and trying to get Drake Middle School students over there. There's a long history on that funky little segment and why it is unbuilt. But for the near term, our priority is pedestrian, not vehicular. I'm not sure vehicular will ever happen.
That leads me to another question. I think that it's almost more interesting, the idea of that connecting the sidewalks but not the street.
Mhm.
Is that the imagination there? Or would it be literally us going up to the edge and then maybe being like winking at Arvada and saying, hey, if you want to make the sidewalk happen, then we'll connect fully? Because I think there's also a fence there. I might be wrong about that, but.
There are fences. Yeah, the goal has been sidewalk connection.
Okay. I think I understand. Okay. My question about Project 3 is also, that's on Ridge Road. I believe there is, that's at the rail crossing on Parfit where there's a residence there.
Correct.
And when driving along Ridge Road, I always am shocked at how much the pedestrians come out onto the road to make that gap, because lots of people, the sidewalks are developing over there. There's lots of new residents over there as well. They're willing to take that risk in that space. I imagine, and I know this is very far down the road, and it's just a speculative piece for me, but if we get to a place where we're able to make that sidewalk gap closed, I imagine that probably would require, at least to some degree, an easement into the property that's right there. That transition into that space, I believe there's some concern about whether or not that sidewalk would be going straight. And if it went straight without any deviation, it probably would be going into the buildings over there. Weird way to get to my question, bad habit of mine, but I imagine that our first approach in that situation would probably be not to interfere with the building that is there and try to make the sidewalk go around. And again, super future, super speculative, but curious.
Yes, all of your observations are exactly why it ended up on this map. About 15 years ago, we did called it the Catalytic Ridge Road Study. It was a collaboration between RTD, Arvada, and Wheat Ridge to anticipate the railroad, the G line coming. So we agreed, because it is so funky in terms of the boundary up there, Arvada and Wheat Ridge agreed on what the standard segment should be for Ridge Road, ideally to include bike lanes and sidewalks. We have been lucky to get those incremental sidewalk and bike connections through private development and some of our own 2E funds over to the west of the segment. This is the most constrained section between Miller and Ward. And you're absolutely right. If we were to keep the alignment of the sidewalk, it'd be incredibly expensive to purchase that right away. So it's on the list because we do understand how important that is. The most likely outcome would be purchase of right of way, trying to minimize that acquisition, meander the sidewalk around as many obstructions as possible to minimize that cost. Yeah, it's a tricky bit right there.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Funky is the right word for it. We're pretty funky up there, if anyone wants to visit.
Councilor Larson.
And thank you, Mayor. And Patrick, could I just get you to circle back on when you opened your comments? You mentioned mentioned the numbers that are
Yeah.
going to be kind of moved around for these projects. And did I understand you correctly to say that the drainage improvements will come out of the 2J money? Will no longer be coming out of 2J money?
Well, that's our intent. As you know, we've presented, we've done a stormwater study. We got direction last year to move forward with a potential stormwater utility. And our intent is that goes through, that drainage projects at a certain time, you know, starting in 27 or whenever we have the funding available in the utility would pay for major drainage projects. The drainage projects that we've earmarked out of 2J are for emergency storm sewer repair. If you remember, you've been out there. We've had numerous collapses of storm sewer across the city. We actually borrowed ahead before the bonds were even issued because we had so many, and then we repaid the bonds out of CIP. So we're prioritizing emergency storm repair, some storm sewer prioritized repairs that we've identified, trying to fix them before they collapse. And then some Clear Creek floodplain improvements to take some homes out of the floodplain. That is about $12.7 million right now. We're hoping to really keep it closer to $6 million for drainage so that we'd have more for the sidewalk gaps, sidewalks, and the corridor projects.
And then that $6 million is for emergency repairs for 26, for this year?
Yes. Well, so the number I have, the 12.7, that's what we kind of forecasted out through 2030 for the full bond package of
Right.
75 million. Okay. But again, if a stormwater utility is in place at some point, I would recommend we divert the drainage projects to that instead of 2J.
Okay, great, thank you.
We've probably spent 3 million, 4 million out of 2J for drainage already.
In 25, and
Yeah, in 25,
Okay.
26.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, and then on the project list, there was a first go-around on this one where there was a number of projects identified, and I guess I'm asking why one project was removed, and that is the frontage road, the south frontage road from Garrison to Holland. It's about 500 feet. It doesn't show up on either one of the lists, so it's obviously not a priority. I would request that one of the, I think, low benefit ones would be Parfait. That one be removed and then some of the money moved over. I could easily see the Garrison project from 44th to 46th Place going away. That stretch of street has a bike lane, so there's room for pedestrians to walk along there, which is not the case on the frontage road from Garrison to Holland. From that stop sign, 2 blocks in, there's no sidewalk on either side of the street. It's a very narrow street. It has a large percentage of big trucks going through there. There's no bike lane, and there's where most pedestrians walk, and there are a lot of pedestrians on that stretch. The pedestrians tend to walk on the south side of the street, and there's a ditch right there. And well, I tell you, if somebody is walking along there and a big truck comes along, or a car maybe kind of creeping over to the side of the road, they're going to get bumped right off the road, right into this ditch there. I think it's one of probably the most hazardous little stretches of street within the city. I would really ask you guys to reconsider that. Do a study on that little stretch there. When we look at, and I just did some quick math, that a stretch of about 500 feet would be roughly $500,000. And if we move a couple things around, we might be able to get that project moved up. Again, it is something that I really see as a hazard to pedestrians. There's no room for bicycles. Even cars going through there could very easily slide off into that ditch.
What were the cross streets again? I'm sorry.
Garrison to Holland along the
okay.
south frontage road.
And Holland. And you said, Mr. Olson, you said it was removed from what list? Was it on
It
another
was
list?
on the list we saw last year. There was
Last
a
year, okay.
preliminary, a
Yeah.
very preliminary
Yeah.
list, and it was on there.
Yeah.
And since then, it's been removed.
Yeah, I think we had a much more comprehensive list of different areas, and we've narrowed it down to these 16. I don't know, have the exact reasoning, but I don't know if Olson has any feedback or on that, or Kip. Go ahead.
We took that original list that was presented last year, and then we met as an internal team, and then we really tried to pull together the bike studies and all the feedback from the Wheat Ridge Speaks, and we had Ashley in there, and again, Lauren and her team and our team, and we pulled these together, and we thought these were the 15 segments that benefited those priorities that Patrick listed earlier with the schools and the churches and the connectivity, and that's how we came up with these 15 out of, like, there must have been 60 or 70 segments on that first go-round, and that's millions and millions and millions of dollars of segments that would take us a lifetime to surface.
I'll add, as a part of that team, when we're trying to run it down and really make sure it was aligned with some of the feedback, one of the maps that we have from the May 25 session shows it on the north frontage road where there is a new sidewalk along the Caesar Square apartment. So I wonder if there was maybe a mix up on whether it was north or south frontage road. So we can take a look at that too.
Okay, because all the rest of the project, the priority projects, look like they make sense. I mean, certainly Harlot Street makes sense. That stretch of Pierce is almost an arterial at this point. It is a very important street, and it needs attention. So I completely support those, but I would ask that that stretch of the South Frontage Road from Garrison to Holland be reconsidered.
Thank you. Councilor Ohm.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple comments. First is, I really appreciate the hawk signal going in. I totally understand some of the yellow flashing lights. I feel like they're largely ineffective. I think we, in general, as a public, have always been trained, red means stop, green means go, yellow is caution, and people just don't stop for the flashing lights. I think the hawk is really going to be a game changer of really having people stop. Really appreciate that, and all this attention to the sidewalk gaps. That's something that we definitely need. And what I want to focus in on, speaking of hockey, I'm going to hawk in on the Dover street between 38th and 41st. Is for years my constituents been complaining about traffic. Having walked that, I've walked that many times. There's a lot of scouring that goes on that 38th side on the top. And then, so I look at, there's a lot of water that comes down. It's somewhat steep. It's definitely not flattish. And thinking about the sidewalk, the curb and gutter, the gutter is going to convey that water, which would be great, and that'll stop the scouring and the erosion process. And I have made observations in the city, whether it's along 32nd of Crown Hill, where we have areas of no edge. I'll just say no edge on the asphalt. That asphalt gets pancaked out by every time the trash trucks come. It starts eroding, and we have a problem. And then we're just spending more money to try to fix that problem, and it's just over and over and over again. And so having that curb and gutter in there, that would help fix that problem. I understand you have to have the height for the curb, which then it's like, well, you might as well have a sidewalk. But we still haven't solved two other issues. One is, how do we slow the water down coming down that Dover from 38th to 44th? And then how do we also slow traffic down? And so those are two things that, unfortunately, it hasn't been addressed in this one that needs to be addressed on the street. And I've been advocating for, I don't know if we need some type of bioswale. I've heard tonight that, maybe losing some landscape because of the right of way, but something to interrupt that flow, because having concrete, is just that flow is gonna be fast going down that concrete curb, is my concern. And so we haven't solved that problem. It's just gonna keep going downhill, and as long as we have consistent curb and gutter all the way to the drain inlet, that does work. But I just feel like there's an opportunity to look at how do we, whether it's some bulb outs, whether it's, some bioswales, but something to slow the water down and then make it a little bit harder for traffic to be speeding, especially through that 41st and Dover Street.
I'll speak to the speeding first, maybe. We've done numerous traffic counts and speed counts out there, and I don't think we've ever identified speeding as being an issue. It's the traffic counts. And those have changed over time since the Wadsworth project's done. I think once Lutheran closed, it's changed. Will the redevelopment of Lutheran change it? Yes, it may. We've talked about doing some type of trying to discourage. It's a public road, first of all. We can't close it. We have talked with the neighborhood about trying to discourage traffic from using that as a cut through with some bulb outs maybe at 38th and 41st, redoing the speed humps that are along there. And there's other ways to mitigate maybe the traffic. But it's my understanding there was not a speed issue. It's mostly a traffic volume issue, and that has changed over time. We'll have to do more counts again, I believe. I'm not sure if we did counts recently for this, did we? No. The water, I don't know.
Yeah, so I think in the breakdown of the proposal, and again, we're just looking for the feedback tonight to see if the Dover Street goes through, but I think part of the design will be, putting pipe in to capture the flow and not just rely on overland flow for Dover Street to be in the curb and gutter. So again, there's a mismatch of stuff out there. There's some culverts, there's some swales, there's some just closed up the entire thing. So the water has to go around, and that creates the rills and the craters. And so kind of unifying the area, and maybe that's, again, part of it's piped, part of it, once it gets slower, maybe it is creating a swale. All the options are on the table. No design has started on this. Again, we're just here to get the feedback to see where we need to go. And we've hired an excellent consultant who worked with us on the 35th to 32nd WADS project as well. And we're confident in their abilities and staff's abilities to guide them along to have a successful project.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Hulteen.
Thank you, Mayor. I am likely going to have 2 rounds of questioning just as I'm processing things. But my first question regarding Dover, it was identified in the presentation as kind of on a critical timeline. Can you share a little bit more about what that critical timeline is? Because I'm hearing both, like, we're at the beginning of design and there's some feedback mechanisms happening now. I'm also hearing that the pavement conditions at basically a near failure level. So can you give a little bit better understanding of what that critical timeline is and sort of like where we are right now?
Yeah, I think, again, we identified last year that also.
I think some are, maybe to correct that, I think the Pierce Street was identified as the critical lead time.
Okay.
Dover is more of the operational synergy where we're planning to do some road maintenance anyway. So,
got it. So it's the timing synergy, not the urgency synergy.
For Dover.
Okay,
Correct.
all right, that's helpful. All right. That does answer my question. I'm going to come back to Dover in a minute. I want to switch over to some of the other programming pieces. Would you mind going to the slide with all the pretty lines on it? So first of all, just okay, so like Councilmember Ohm said, I'm really excited about the Hawk signals. I think the rapid flashing beacon signals are not good, and I think a lot of places where we have them placed are not ideal. So one comment that has come through, and I know was mentioned when we did the walk audit with Stevens Elementary, was moving the existing Upham rapid flashing beacon over to Teller. The traffic pattern, even without the rapid flashing beacon where it's located, is just really treacherous because there's merging traffic, there's turning traffic. If you're turning traffic, you can't actually see the rapid flashing beacon. So I don't know how difficult it is to move existing equipment, but I'd like to add to consideration relocation of that piece of equipment, which I think would better serve both the green and the schools and would be tremendously safer. Rapid flashing beacons are also appropriate not at T intersections, but mid-block crossings. We frequently have been putting them at T intersections like we have in front of Clancy's, and that actually creates a blind spot for the turn. So anyway, so that's one request that I have, is to take a look at moving that existing RFB.
And that would probably be part of the 38th Avenue refresh project. They're going to be looking at pedestrian safety as well.
Great. Then as for the recommendation for the Hawk signal, I think it's recommended at Harlan Street. Sorry, my contacts are getting really foggy. It's pretty late. So the eastern, the Harlan location. Yeah, 44th and Lamar, is it Lamar? Yeah, thank you. Thank you. All these 5-letter street names. So I don't love that location for a couple of reasons. I see that it serves a park, and we've got an existing rapid flashing beacon there, like right west of there. It just goes to the park, and it doesn't actually really serve the community to the north of 44th. And when I was walking, in the last year and a half for various candidates and initiatives and knocking throughout that neighborhood, they really have a hard time getting across 44th. So I heard two things. One is Newland being challenging, and actually like a through street that actually connects all the way from 48th to 38th. And there's 2 gas stations. There's a lot of commercial activity there. I know it's just a couple blocks east of Pierce, but that's a location that would actually serve the community that's to the north of 44th, whereas the location at Lamar Street really just gets to the park, but the neighborhood can't access it without actually having to circumvent and go all the way around the park. But then the other thing that I heard really clearly throughout that community was really wanting access at Reed Street for people who want to walk and ride their bikes to Stevens Elementary. The crossing at Vance is actually really not very pedestrian friendly. And there are a lot of young families that have moved into the neighborhood really from, I'd say, from Hopper Hollow Park up to like Vance. And they're increasingly wanting to walk and ride their bike to get to the Green, to get to Stevens, to get to 38th Avenue. And there's really not a great way except for to go up to Vance, which doesn't really connect well with the neighborhood. So I'd like to actually suggest we don't move forward with the 44th and Lamar and look at either doing Newland or looking at Reed Street. Reed would be my first pick, because that's what I've heard from that community. And I went back through my notes from walking this last fall, and I heard from 4 families that part of their decision on where to send their kids to school, whether it was going to be Stevens, would be if they could walk or ride their bike to school. So that's just a request that I have for the Hawk signal. And then the second question I have around that is, what is the plan for the existing rapid flashing beacons on 44th? I'm assuming that if you put a Hawk signal in at Miller, you're removing the one that's just to the east of there at that mid-block crosswalk. Is that correct?
The intent of both Hawks was to replace the existing RFBs in both locations because they're not suitable for a 2-lane road that's like this. So I think we'd look to redeploy them potentially in lower volume areas on some of our local streets. That's just not a good application for 44th.
Yeah, I agree. The 4-lane RFB crossings is pretty treacherous. Along those lines, I would like to add removing the RFB in front of the truck stop on 44th west of Teller. That's a really dangerous location for that, and especially for getting the improvements coming in at is it Teller? No, it's not Teller. Tabor. Sorry, thank you. It's getting late. My streets are going. Anyway, so those are my couple of crossings. And then just a thought, we heard from a couple people tonight. I know Jeffco is about 2/3 of the way through its Vision Zero planning, and Wheat Ridge has been a really active participant in that. And for those who don't know, Vision Zero looks at data and says, here's where we know that there's a history of serious injuries or fatal crashes for people walking, biking, driving. And to whatever extent that's possible on the project list, I just want to make sure we've got 2J funds available to address what we're going to learn through the data that will be available this summer, because I think that's going to really help us understand. So if there's a way as we're moving forward with 2J funds to recognize that we're going to have our own participation in a data-driven process to better understand where some of those funds are spent. I just want to put a plug in for that. And actually, I'm not going to go a second time. I'm just going to finish now because who knows how long my contacts are going to last. I think my thoughts on Dover is I know that we've had conversations and there's been a lot of discussion. I know we were in this room, 2.5 years ago, meeting with a lot of people who are in the room tonight about their concerns. I feel like it's a complex project and it's going to have a pretty big impact on a lot of people. For the record, I have really strong feelings about Dover being safe to travel. Whether cars are speeding or there just are a lot of cars, it is one of only 2 streets between Wadsworth and Youngfield, other than Kipling, that go all the way between 44th and 38th. So it is a cut-through street. It's technically a neighborhood street, but it is going to be a high-trafficked street, and there's no way around that unless we start buying up houses and blowing streets through other parts of the neighborhood. I think it would be appropriate to meet with the neighbors, again, just to make sure, like we've brought a lot of things up here around water management, safety management, like sidewalks, right away. These are a lot of things that when we do other corridors, like we've identified with Pierce, like we've identified doing the outreach is important there. I think this project is complex enough and will impact people enough that I think a neighborhood meeting would be a valuable thing to do, like fairly quickly. But I also want to be really clear, like I strongly support sidewalks on it. I know that it takes away the character, but it is one of the only ways to get from 38th to 44th in that huge long stretch of our city. So anyway, so those are just my thoughts. I'd like to ask that we do a neighborhood meeting and make sure that the neighbors are aware of what's being considered and that that's something that's being dialogued.
Yeah, and that's always been the intent for probably most of these projects is to communicate with those who are impacted directly. But we wanted direction from council first before we start that process.
Thank you. Councilor Martell.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to kind of switch focus over to District 1 and the 2 identified projects on Harlan and on Pierce. And I love that these made the kind of short list, so I appreciate that and thank you. Similar to what Mayor Pro Tem Hulting was just saying, Harlan and Pierce are two of the more heavily used north-south corridors. And I love that both of these are being addressed, but at what point in this project will we know timelines to think about if both of these are being worked on at the same time, the impacts of traffic going northwest, either having to go way over to Sheridan or all the way over to Wadsworth, which is fine, but it also ties back to the communication of setting expectations when both of these north-souths will be impacted. And then also, I know this is probably another early question, but as we're looking at design, how long the projects take? Not only will they, when they will start, but how long they will take be considered as we're mapping out which projects are done in what order. Thank you.
Yeah, so I think, first step tonight is to get consensus on what roads we're going to look at. And then second step will be bringing back a contract for Olson to complete design. And I think we have that slated for March 9th. And then subsequently after that, we will get with Olson and we will find out the timeline of the initial work that they've done to figure out which ones we'll be able to do fairly quickly. Some of those I think have been identified. Again, we want to spend these 2J dollars and get a contractor on board. So this was our plan all along, was to not wait to have 6 segments all designed and ready to go at one time for one contractor. Our intent, I think, is to knock off the 3 or 4 that we can get done and get out to bid by, August and be constructed before the end of the year. Those that require right-of-way or temporary easements, those are going to take a little longer. Dover obviously has some hurdles that we're going to need to get through. So I don't think we're bound by a single project like we're used to. This is a fluid thing where we're able to have Olson put out some plans and we can bid it. It doesn't take very long to bid it. We get an award and then we get a schedule for construction. But again, I think our intent is to at least get, 3 or 4 of these done this year. But it's going to be tight, but we're going to do our very best.
And because we're using bond funds, tax exempt bond funds, we are required by the IRS to spend a good chunk, 85% of the money in 3 years. And we issued those bonds already. It's probably been a year already. So we have to keep an eye on that as well. And then what the timing is, and we still have a second tranche of bonds we can issue. Again, we only did about 33 million of the 75. So we're trying to figure out the timing on that when we're ready to do the second round of gap sidewalks.
Thank you. Councilor Snell.
Thank you, Mayor. I also wanted to just clarify a couple things. The Harlan section is at both sides of the street for a sidewalk?
Yes, most of these segments include both sides if they don't have sidewalk on both sides now.
Yeah. I know there's like little bits. We walk the dog there sometimes, but it's a little wacky there. And then on Pierce, I live very close to Pierce, and I agree with Councilor Larson. It can get really busy. That would also be on both sides of the street, correct? Sidewalks.
That is correct.
Okay. I'd just like to also throw out that crossing Pierce east to west, other than at 32nd or 38th, is very difficult. And I've heard that from a lot of folks and experienced it multiple times a week just walking the dogs. So I know that's not on any list. I know that I've heard it and experienced it. So just for whatever it's worth, it's crossing is a really a big challenge certain times of day. There's nothing there, crosswalk, flash or anything. And then finally, this may be a silly question, is there a place where we could go to see like the entire list of these that are not prioritized or anything like that, but just so that we know, because we have residents that are talking to us about things going on in 29th, lots of speeding, things like that. And so I can't remember if that exists, but is there a way that we could just have access to that so we could at least say yes on the list somewhere?
Yeah, we had a meeting a couple days ago about regrouping with our What's Up Wheat Ridge page on the 2J bonds and get it updated better. It's a little stale right now. Take some stuff off that maybe it's not there anymore, but I think the overall map would be a good one to still be on there and talk about how it's been whittled down and what the plans are for the ones that haven't been budgeted yet. Yes, so we're looking at that.
Okay. Thank you. That's great. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Councilor Quinn.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'll be brief, and I'm going to, since everyone else has bogarted their respective districts, I'm going to say I appreciate all of these that are coming up and the order, the ranking that we have them. I think the one by the school on Parfaits, be irresponsible of us to not fix that one, having an elementary school right there. I echo everyone's concern on Dover. I think Director Kisselman has pointed out that's going to be quite the challenge with the drainage and the curb and gutter, and I appreciate that you talking that this is a lot of the markings and things that are out there right now are kind of exploratory, and I just ask staff to, like Mayor Pro Tem Holteen, it is late, said, please communicate as good as we can with those folks, because if Kim comes up here and says she didn't know, she knows what we're doing before we do usually, and so if she doesn't know, nobody knows. And appreciate the hard work on here. And I don't know if it's appropriate to ask for consensus now or not, or
Do you need a consensus tonight, or are you just looking for feedback?
What do you think, guys?
I think there was just some clarity that, the Garrison section, if you want to get a price on that, and again, we can look at that. And again, they're going to be putting their proposal together for March 9th, if you have consensus on that. And then I guess I'll defer to Lauren on the Hawk Signal, because we did submit the grant application for the locations that we have now. So I don't know, maybe she can speak to the swapping that out. I don't know how that happens.
Yeah, I don't either. We did submit, so again, as you've heard tonight, and as you know, our wish list far exceeds the funding we have available to us. So these are always really hard decisions of what goes first. And, we knew that coming into tonight, there would be a feeling of perceived winners and losers once you start picking projects to spend dollars on. So what we've been trying to do is find grant funds. We originally had applied for a safety grant for Dover so that it wouldn't come out of 2J funds. And what we've just applied to is CDOT's safety program for those Hawk signals. So we'll see how much flexibility there is on that location. The modifications that you described were a matter of a couple of blocks potentially if it was new wind focus, if we even get it. So we'll work on that. If we can keep that one a little bit fluid, that'd be helpful.
Mayor Pro Tem Multi?
Thank you, that's helpful. So you applied for the HSIP funding for that? Yeah, they're not going to be flexible on that. But I guess then what I'd like to do is add Reed Street for consideration for funding for an additional crossing. Reed Street.
Reed and 38.
Reed and 44th.
Oh, 44th.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, and I guess part of, I appreciate, and I know there was some version of this that went through my email months ago. But I think my bigger request is part of the struggle we're having here tonight is that we have a ton of money for bike ped stuff, but we don't have a clearly delineated bike ped program in the city. We've got a bike ped master plan that identifies priority investments and recommendations on what those should look like. And we have like a bunch of sort of scattershot policy and decisions that have come out of here. But I think we struggle with, we don't have like at least a coherent to our community or coherent to me necessarily, like on how we prioritize those. I know it's been presented here, but how those decision frameworks come together and how our community informs them, I think is kind of a little bit of a missing piece in that if we're going to do Hawk signals on 44th, because that stretch of 44th was not included in the 44th Avenue sub-area plan. So it does not have a well-informed community-driven vision for that segment. Like it would be great for us to figure out like how to reach the community a little bit better to find out like what's important for them to cross 44th if we don't have something like a sub-area plan. So maybe a conversation to be thinking about, and I recognize that Director Kisselman and Director Mikulak are doing good work to try and start to have those conversations in a way, but I think it would be helpful for us to just kind of better understand like how we're looking at the city as we're spending a lot of these dollars. And I know, sorry, I am at the end of a really long day. I know we've had a scaffolding bunch of decisions, but I'm hearing in the conversation tonight that I don't know if we know how those pieces come together always. So understanding maybe a framework around the prioritization, like just schools and parks, and how that translates to each of these projects might be helpful when they come to us. Thanks.
Mr. Goff, do you have what you need?
Yeah, I think we do. We will come back again. We'll investigate the frontage road section that Mr. Larson brought up. We'll look more into the Hawk signals. Yeah, I think that was otherwise, I think gonna maybe get head nods that most of the other projects, other than what we heard, were priorities. Okay. All right. Yeah, I think we have what we need.
Excellent.
Appreciate it.
Well, everybody's had a chance to do their elected officials matters. Does anybody need to add anything this evening? No? Fantastic. Well, we will close out our special study session tonight for February 23rd, 2026. It's 9:07. We will be back here next Monday, March 3rd, I believe, for another study session. March 2nd, 6:30 here in Chambers. See you then.